Hey everybody, welcome to another Age of Grogu, and I got with me Elijah and Jason today. Hey guys, how you doing?
What
How's it
up?
going?
Hey, how's
Hey, it's
everything
Present.
been?
Hey.
Yeah, what's everyone's week been like?
That's been chill.
Chill? Yeah,
Chill for me, yeah.
that's cool.
Kinda.
Am I frozen on you guys' screen? Because,
You are frozen
Yeah,
on the
looks
screen,
like.
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. We can hear you fine though.
yeah, but I don't want to be frozen the whole time with that expression.
Like
Yeah,
Mr.
that
Burns
look.
with Kent
Just
Brockman.
I'm,
just
a,
jump
ju- I'm
jump
I'm
off and
jumping
jump
and
back on.
jumping out.
Yeah, jump off and jump back on. So, yeah, yeah, something really cool happened this week. I was working on a short film about a year ago with a friend of mine, Blake Simon, who
Hmm.
is a director, and it won at the Screamfest this past week, and they won an award for audience. What's it called? Audience.
Audience
Yeah,
Choice Award.
Choice
Whatever.
Awards. Thank you. That's the one. Yeah, Audience Choice Awards. So, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. Go
Yeah,
Blake.
I got the chance. We saw it last weekend at in Hollywood. They had the screening and Screamfest there, so it was cool to see it on the big screen. I always like to watch the short films I work on when they come through LA on the big screen and everything. So,
Yeah,
but it was
that's
fun.
awesome.
It was cool. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Um, and yeah, so that's cool. Blake's been winning so many different awards and stuff like that. He's a really awesome director to work with. So
Yeah.
a lot of fun. You've worked with him before briefly there too. So
Yeah.
yeah. Apart from that, yeah, we're just waiting for Elijah to jump back in again. But did you see this news this week, Jason? Gargoyles looks like it might be going live action on Disney Plus.
Oh, shoot, dude.
What's that?
Millennials are probably freaking out.
That in a good way or a bad way? Because it's like
In a, well, all right. Like, probably in a good
yeah,
way for a lot of
uh-huh.
people, but still, like,
Hey Malloy.
cautious
Hmm.
because this is always like, it's always like exciting at first, but then
Right.
you have to be kind of wary about adaptations, right? Like we've
And who
had
they
like the
really are targeting as well, because
exactly, but
yeah, yeah,
like it's always it's a double-edged sword when you get like a beloved property and
right,
kind of bring it back, and it's a hit or miss a lot of the
yeah,
time, right? You'd
yeah.
agree, right?
I do agree. Yeah, yeah. I kind of missed the boat when the animated show came in. I was in my late 20s, I think at the time, or something like that. Late 20s at
I was
least,
a
or
bit
mid
old for it
20s.
too, yeah, but
And I watched a couple of episodes. I thought, it looks kind of cool. It was a cool concept, but I never
mm,
really got involved in it. But a live action adaptation, I think the reason I kind of was connected to it in some ways was that a lot of the Star Trek Next Generation cast members actually voiced most of the characters that were brought in, or guest appearance characters. So Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis and Michael Dorn, they all did voiceover work for that
nice.
show. So it also makes me wonder whether they'll be brought back since they're all around to do any of the live action stuff, which would be kind of
Yeah.
fun.
What was the connection with all like such a huge amount of the cast
I
in that,
think
right? Is there some
I
type of
honestly
connection?
don't know. I think Michael Dorn was offered a voice role first, and then he just said, "Hey guys, come over and join." And somehow they ended up
Yeah.
by all kind of linking in. But
You get
somehow,
one of them and then the
yeah,
rest
oh
come.
yeah,
I
and
know
then
another guy.
yeah. The next Brent Spiner also. I believe he also did some voice stuff. So they had a lot of the next
Yeah.
generation cast kind of jump over, which was kind of fun and but not enough to pull me in to watch the show. But
Mhm.
I only hear good things about the animated show, and maybe it's worth I might even go and actually watch some of these shows from the beginning. I think they're all on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, it's from a it's like it's from a good era of
Yeah,
animation,
yeah,
I
yeah. The
think.
animation was definitely cool. I mean, it was still in the post Batman animated series style of
Hmm.
kind of animation, and after that, it kind of went weird for me.
Yeah.
After
Well,
Gargoyles, it was so.
the good thing about like yeah, that's what happened with like Batman animated series. They
Right.
learned how dark they could actually get
Yeah.
of that is acceptable. So like
Yeah.
they
Totally.
kind of had this like kind of gothic kind of
Yeah.
wave of
What did I miss? What did I miss?
So
Sorry, that
yeah,
took
yeah.
me a
So
minute. I had
that's
to
cool.
like log out and I
All
don't know.
good.
It wasn't letting me come coming out.
Gargoyles
Oh, God.
animated.
So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
Gargoyles
yeah.
animated. They're doing a live action adaptation apparently.
Yeah.
Did you ever? You're not a big animated serial person, so
I mean, I remember when
you're
that
aware.
came out. I remember kind of being into it for a little bit. I remember the toys being like popular and like
Right.
a collectible thing. Like, you know, when
Yeah.
those toys first came out, they were like popular.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. I thought it was
and
an
that's
interesting
cool.
concept. I mean, it was a bunch of gargoyles in New York City that kind of keepers of the of the skies.
Like that
But
they come to
also,
life at night.
yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty dark for a Disney thing, and like, you know,
Sure.
like for a movie, like
Yeah.
how dark are they going to do it?
Well,
I mean,
it'll be a TV series
a
actually.
TV
So
series, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
Well, that's what we were
yeah.
saying. That's what I was just saying right when you got on. Like, Batman animated series
Hmm.
proved how like that having dark cartoons is kind of acceptable
Yeah,
because of its popularity and its success. So they were just
yeah,
like, you know what? If we lean into the goth stuff, that might be successful.
yeah.
Kids could
I mean,
handle this dark stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was big for its time. I mean, as I didn't really, as I say, I didn't really watch much of it, but the little bit I did see, it was like, oh, that's interesting. It was cool. I liked the concept, but I do actually want to kind of watch that show. And I think there's only a couple of seasons on that series, but maybe I'll go back and watch it sometime. Just maybe do some reactions or something. I'll have to check and see.
That'd be fun. When is
Yeah.
that launching?
It's still in pre kind of thought process right now.
okay. It's like
Yeah,
on the table.
yeah. The guys who worked on Atomic Monster. I don't know what Atomic Monster is. I haven't actually seen it.
Yeah, I don't know that
but
one.
but apparently they're lined up. So again, that's all we know right now. But it could be kind of fun, kind of thing. Another piece of news that dropped last week: the X-wing fighter that sold for $3.1 million in auction. One of the original 20-inch models of the X-wing fighter. Very few of them survived Star Wars: A New Hope because most of them were actually destroyed. They blew most of those models up. But the couple that didn't actually get destroyed from that original batch was found. Someone had it in their basement or something like that. I don't know. And it sold for a record $3.1 million.
The windshield, it's all
Squeak.
melted. It's all like deteriorated windshield.
Oh yeah, it is too. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's always kind of fun. I mean, I love a lot of those shows. I think what's his name from he does a lot of models and stuff like that.
Adam Savage.
Adam Savage, thank you. Yes, he does a lot of models and checks a lot of models out and stuff like that. I'm always fascinated in checking out original models from film props and stuff like that. It's always fun to watch.
Oh man, he had a good tested YouTube video where he took some old molds from like the prequels that he worked on.
Yeah.
And then he had them scanned to make new molds.
I saw it. I saw that. That was really cool. Yeah.
Because like if he used those molds one more time, like they were pretty deteriorated. That
it
would
was
have
of a
been the
Y-wing
last,
fighter, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the last pull he could have done from it.
Yeah.
So instead, he had it like digitally scanned.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. That crossover, that literal crossover of like different technology.
Because it's still the original artist work. It's just simply being forged into a computer form that can be reprinted.
That has been like a method I've heard from like other artists, like old school artists who are used to building stuff.
Yeah.
They'll make the model and then they'll digitally scan it, and then they'll take that digital scan and then digitally animate it.
Yeah, I mean
sometimes
it's
that's
becoming
faster.
It's becoming easier too. I mean, the scanning technology, the 3D scanning technology, is getting much simpler and cheaper these days. It's not at a level that I could actually afford one right now myself, but you're still paying $20,000 to get a really high end digital scan.
You know what? Your iPhone could do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah,
I've seen Polycam
basics. Yeah.
Yeah, Polycam. You could get a really decent scan of like a lot of objects, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy how good that is.
Yeah, so I haven't actually tested that, but maybe one day it'd be worth it.
Start with like a lightsaber hilt, work your way up from there. 'Cause it's pretty simple.
Fair enough.
And it's just like quick adjustments on the model. It's actually saves a lot of time. Actually, you should check it out.
Yeah, no, I have to. Yeah, that's cool. Apart from that, there was not terribly huge amount of views. There was a couple of photo drops now. About a month or two back, they dropped some photos for the new Avatar: The Last Airbender TV series live action, and we saw these images drop from the heroes Katara and Sokka and Zuko. But then they started dropping some of the Fire Nation characters. Zuko again without his helmet.
Mm.
They've got Iho. Is it Iroh, and that's actually Paul Sung Hyung Lee, who is in Mandalorian, which is kind of cool. He's playing kind of a big character there.
He's had a long ass career, huh?
Yeah, he really has. Daniel Day Kim, which is a surprise, is playing
Like,
Zuko's father.
if you got Asians in your show, you got to get him somehow. You know,
You know what? I remember one of the first shows I think he popped up in that I remember was the series of Angel, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. He appeared as this random, like, office guy who was a continual reoccurring character, but had, like, sucked up to the bosses basically kind of character. But there was something about it was like, wow, this character, this actor's like really, I'm enjoying this character that he's playing. And I haven't really followed much of his work throughout his career, but he's continually doing things all the time.
yeah,
So
Lost
it's
is
cool
his big
that,
thing.
Staying busy.
yeah.
Well, he's got a good
Yeah,
look.
Lost.
He,
Okay,
Yeah,
he's got
yeah.
a look. He looks like Jim Lee illustrated him. You know.
Yeah, he does. You're right. Yeah. But anyway, he's continually getting work, which is cool, and it's good to see him that he's going to be playing a key character, at least in the
He
earlier
was
series.
he was
there.
in the last Hellboy.
Oh,
He's
he
that,
was?
like, yeah,
That's
he's like
funny.
that kind of werewolf, kind of cheetah man.
And then a few other characters that they dropped. Princess Azula. I can't remember enough of her character. And Commander Zeo, who is like So these are all the Fire Nation characters. Looks like they're going to drop different nation characters every once in a while. But
Yeah.
I'm still
Dude,
waiting for a really good trailer for this. I haven't
go back
dropped
to
a trailer.
the Azula.
Yeah, Princess Azula.
See, okay, I know we've seen so much of it, but I don't know. Something about it looks AI to me. I know it's not,
You're right.
but a lot
it
of these
does.
do, right? It's like, all right, live action. Your prompt was live action.
They could be
Avatar,
Photoshopped.
Last Airbender. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're a lot of it is Photoshop, like color correction
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Right.
But they're just so integrated and like,
Yeah.
I got that AI brain rot right now, so I'm just
Fair
like,
enough.
oh,
Right.
what is this?
But-
But it looks like prompts that you typed in.
Yeah.
It's like live action Airbender, and then you
Right.
get this, and it would you're like, wow, that looks really good.
But
kinda
at the same
cool.
time, but these are real sets. These are real costumes. The
Yeah.
costume design looks immaculate in this series.
Oh, it's great. And they got a
yeah.
lot to work with, the source material.
Yeah, even these characters, you're right. They feel a little AI generated, just to a certain, which is weird. You're right. We're
I mean, the
becoming
hands,
accustomed.
Some of
hands
it's the
Yeah.
background too. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like
But there's some beautiful sets. in
Color.
this.
they're kind of comped in, but they're
Yeah.
they're polished up. I think is what
Yeah,
makes it look
yeah.
AI.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know, Malloy. What do you think? Do those look
Yeah.
AI to you? I know you're on this type of stuff.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the first real trailer. They showed like a teaser trailer, but it was just the logos of each of the symbols. I'm hoping we'll get one soon because I'm actually kind of more excited for this show. I'm actually thinking of also doing another animation rewatch because it's been about 2 years, or a year
I
and a
know
half
it's
since I
worth
watched
checking
it.
out again.
And I think I want to rewatch. Actually, it's probably 2 years ago when I watched it for the first time. And this show's 20 years old plus, and there's only 3 seasons. It's actually not too complicated of a series to sit through. But I actually think I need a recap to sit through it, and I'm curious to see how they adapt this because again, I'm going back to what I watched recently with One Piece. I've never watched the animated show, but I actually really enjoyed the live action adaptation, and that was a lot of very real physical sets that they were using and real physical elements that looked
I think that's what helped
good.
sell it. There's just you can tell when there's a lot of love put into something.
Totally. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even if Star Wars has its ups and downs, the actual quality of everything around it, production quality, is amazing in every episode. There's so much beautiful production work between the costumes and the sets.
Well, what it proves is that no matter how good your sets are, sometimes bad writing could have that much of an effect on something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the vibe that we're talking about, yeah,
Depth of
is
field.
the
Yeah.
the depth of of the yeah. There's
But
something about the
that
photos that
is,
look a little touched up, but
yeah, but like, you know, AI wouldn't be doing that if those didn't exist already, you know? But like they've kind
right.
of dominated that look and they fed off
Yeah,
of that type of
yeah.
polishing up that we now are starting to associate that with AI, which is
Right.
kind of
So
sad.
It's weird that it's just the
Yeah.
beginning too. Like we're not
yeah,
even like 5 years into like this
yeah,
AI stuff.
yeah,
You know, like give it a
yeah.
couple
You're right.
years and see where
Yeah,
we're at. It's just gonna be
Yeah.
yeah.
crazy.
But you can also consider, the film, like magazine covers have been polishing up actors
Yeah,
and
yeah,
models for
forever,
years,
forever.
with Photoshop and stuff like that. So, and even before that, there was airbrushing
Yeah,
of
yeah.
all that. So, the fact that, yeah, you're right, AI seems to have taken the form of a Photoshop appearance that we are familiar with, that now makes us look at still images like this and go, oh, there's something a little off from it, and really it's not. It's just, yeah, it's just touched up Photoshop. But either way, um, I'm looking forward to that show. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Loki. This season's episode, this episode of episode 3 for a little bit, guys. Um, I thought this is the best, possibly the best Loki out of every episode done to date,
It was
even
definitely,
from first season.
I mean, fully packed. I mean, it was nonstop. Like these
Yeah,
episodes have been great that way.
yeah,
But
Yeah. Everything down to like the setting, you know,
yeah,
period
yeah,
piece,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah,
immersed
yeah,
yeah.
and chocked full of Easter eggs.
yeah.
Good
No,
for
Which
def-
makes me wonder, like,
for
how where
comics
they
and
shot that.
reality.
Like, how much of that is real? What did they build for that World's Fair thing?
Just
yeah.
the
No,
beauty of
It's
it. You
pretty
can't
amazing.
yeah.
tell.
Yeah, you
Like,
I
can't
you know,
cannot.
tell.
I could
It's
not
really
tell. Yeah,
amazing.
there was some
yeah.
really great stuff. I mean, there was,
Well, there could be a lot of like comping, like,
mm,
you know, like the most of the alleyways looked like they were just kind of flipping Dutch
sure,
reverses on like
yeah.
a lot of the alleyways, but
But there were
still,
several
like,
times you got into this
still work.
vast expanse.
Hmm.
Overhead helicopter, sorry. Yeah, the vast expanse when they opened up into the open areas that just kept on going back. There was some really beautiful
Everything
stuff
was
going on.
believable.
Yeah, everything was completely believable. There's not one time I didn't feel taken out of the look and the feel
Hmm.
of what they set up. Um, yeah, I mean, thoroughly, really enjoyable episode. We also kind of caught up with what we saw the drop in Quantumania and the post credit scene, because that kind of little moment kind of played out there as well in
Yeah.
Quantumania, which was
It's like they used their most beloved episode, huh? For a post credits. Like, you
probably
know what? We put a
yeah,
lot of work into this. It's a
yeah,
whole period piece.
yeah,
Kind of nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's just a good show, man. It's
yeah,
quality stuff,
yeah.
man.
I mean, I it's really tough because of um, uh, the actor's situation, he's trouble he's been in recently and stuff like that, and I don't it's I couldn't put it aside. I part of me was able to put it aside easily because how involved I was with the character he's been portraying with Kang. I thought Kang was, he played that character very well, and I didn't realize that it definitely is the adaptation of the one we saw in Loki season 1, right? That is the same Kang's life and bloodline that we're seeing, right?
A variant,
A
I
variant.
guess.
Well,
It could be like the birth of Kang.
yeah,
See, like this is how probably they all started, maybe,
possibly,
right?
yeah.
Because so
Yeah,
he's
I
always
think
just
that
been a kid
was
from like the
yeah.
1800s, like,
yeah,
and so like he gets educated with or gets indoctrinated with the education or with knowledge of Kang,
yeah.
and then he becomes it. Do they all start this way?
Well, I got a feeling they all start this way because he gets taken to the time variant,
It
and
seems like he was originally the seed of it, and then they
yeah,
came back to him with the
Hmm.
manual to
yeah,
just get him quicker. It's like the Doc Brown thing. He's like, it
yeah,
worked. I finally invented something that works.
yes, yeah,
He's like he had the
Yeah.
idea of it. It's like, oh, I have the idea of time travel, and then Marty McFly
yeah,
shows up. It's like you're like, what? I haven't even invented it yet, but
No,
just
but
the
I'm talking
idea.
about like I'm talking
Yeah.
about like
I know, but like
all Kangs started
Yeah.
this way.
right, I'm just saying that like the original he might have been the lead to the original King.
Yeah.
All the
I
But
original
feel
it
King.
like
that the concept you're talking about right now just creates the paradox of like
right,
he couldn't exist without his future self. So
correct.
it's like, where did that start at first? Because that
Well,
eventually down the line he had to figure it out himself.
Right,
I think
right.
he's going to
It
figure it out. I think he's already figured it out. I think he's going to step into this device somehow and be split everywhere. I think that might be his way of I think Miss Minutes is going to be a big part of that. I don't know. It's like, well, we got the
Well,
return of Miss Minutes too, of course, which was,
well,
simply
he ditched them.
yeah.
Spoilers, guys.
Oh, yeah, spoilers, guys. There was I mean between Miss Min I love the rivalry between Miss Minutes and Remslayer. I thought
Renslayer.
Renslayer, yeah.
And the little seduction
Yeah.
techniques that she was pulling off on
Yeah.
that was kind of
That was twisted.
interesting.
That
It
was
was
really
weird.
warped. And then she just
Yeah,
went
it's just
downright
like,
creepy. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
we had this moment. It was like, I want to be, don't you want me to be human? It's like,
She
yeah,
Tinkerbelled,
nah.
dude.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, totally. Yeah,
Because that's kind of like the relationship they have.
yeah,
She's got this kind of non-human entity that follows him around, but is kind of
Yeah.
obsessed with him
yeah,
and very like protective of him.
yeah.
Therefore, like dropping off his Wendy, you know, like
Yeah, you're right, completely. Yeah,
like nah, I don't like this girl.
that was a
Like,
great.
I'll work with her.
cut,
I'll
too.
help her get here, but nah, fuck this girl.
Yeah,
And so yeah, like that's just
Yeah.
the connection I can make to it.
yeah,
No, Tink, what are you doing?
yeah. Going back to Timely and his, and his devices and stuff like that. Again, it's just like I've got a feeling somehow he. I mean, he obviously knows about this device. This structure. All he needs to do is get close to it, and
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that I don't know.
Go back to it, dude. I have this
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
observation. I was watching it again.
Yeah, yeah,
And the way they frame the loom is like really similar to
loom,
when you
that's it.
see the actual loom.
yes, yes.
Like you could probably overlay those,
yeah,
and like the framing of it in the frame would be
yeah,
right on top of each other. I kind of like that. There's kind of like a parallel with the
yeah.
settings,
that's
and like
him standing in front of it or into it. I mean, I got a feeling that he is gonna step into that thing, fix it, and in turn, he's gonna be split off into every parallel, realities. That's where I think it's going, but I could be completely wrong because
yeah,
the
because he's
shows
going to the TVA and he's
yeah,
gonna learn all this stuff, right? Like
yeah.
they're
Well, I
gonna-
mean,
well, Ouroboros
he already
needs him.
knows a lot of it. That's the thing. That book has probably got a lot of information in
Yeah.
there.
It's got all the
he's-
information. In
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
like it's something that
Well,
he like understands too. Then
Yeah.
The little thing he made is kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah, what was that little device that he made?
well, so remember like in Quantum Mania, the
Mm-hmm.
thing that he uses to power his machine. I think it's it's like a
Oh.
steampunk version of that.
Gotcha.
So that's like this first thing, and that's like his prized possession. That's what he had to go
Yeah.
and get
Gotcha.
and then bring with him. It's like the one thing out of all his inventions that he
Right.
brought back.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's
it's
a
kind
key
of like
thing.
this shifting kind of orb,
Mm-hmm.
which could be like the prototype
Mm-hmm.
to the engine that he had in Quantum Mania. I think that's
Yeah.
the connection to that.
Yeah.
So maybe like team up him with Ouroboros, and then he'll like get his knowledge fused with his, because he's like almost there. He's just outside of his technology range, right?
Sure. No. Totally. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, then who
Yeah.
taught Ouroboros all this stuff? He wrote the manual. Was that original Kang? Like that's what I'm
know.
wondering.
I
Like,
don't
where
know.
did he get his knowledge?
he's
'Cause
been
he's
there. For,
all-knowing.
he said he's been there for 300 years. He's been there forever. Just
Yeah.
So
maybe,
has
maybe
so
he
has
wrote
like
the manual just by being there over time.
well so has
having that job forever.
Morbius has been
Right.
there just as long too. Like they didn't see
Yeah.
each other for like 400
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's
But
Yeah,
400 years in the terms of the entire galaxy and the entire TVA and everything.
well time's
be a
weird
blink of an
there.
eye.
So
No, you're
yeah,
right. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
closed off from everything else.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
there's no aging. So that means like the pies don't like spoil, I guess. When
Probably not.
like
The
nothing
green pies.
spoils, like
Oh right.
they're kind of like
yeah.
just frozen
Like
in that dimension.
There you go.
But
Probably.
it's I don't know, this is just time travel as a genre is kind of like
Yeah.
kind of just messes with your mind. But
Yeah. Now, I don't know if this was just subtle hints of design, but like we commented when they went up to the loft into his into Timely's loft, and it had all the scrolly architecture and stuff like that. It's all the same design that we saw at the end of season one, at the end of
Yeah.
time. So there's this cool reoccurring motif going around within the production design. I think they've done this out of all the shows that Marvel of production design. This show has got to be one of my most favorites that they've
Yeah.
done.
They'd have to put more love into it, more money into it for sure.
well,
Yeah.
considering like its setting, it demands a lot of
Sure.
production design compared
Oh,
to
yeah.
everything else that has been just on Earth, like
Yes,
on
yeah.
present day, right?
Yeah,
Outside of like probably WandaVision, maybe,
yeah,
because like the different genres or different eras. But
yeah,
outside of that, like, yeah, this is the most demanding of all the shows, I feel like.
yeah, yeah. I was trying to think what else there is to talk about the episode. I mean, without giving away any spoilers.
We got a Loki hair flip.
We got
We're-
one Loki hair flip.
We're
Yeah,
up to
a nice,
happy.
slow, dramatic one. It was,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty subtle one, but I'm gonna count it. We're up to 6 in this
Yep.
season.
We've got Sylvie back in again, of course, and she took a step back this time, this episode, but she was there at the end. There was some interesting stuff going on. I'm curious as to where she is now going to play out in this show. There's so many. I gotta say, there's so many variants of not knowing how this is going to go, and I think that's one of the great things about the writing in this show is that it is continually making me guess, and just plainly not know where it's going.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
that's
she
fun.
finally had a change of heart in this one, right? She
Yeah.
let this Kang go. He convinced her not to
Yeah.
kill him,
Yeah.
which she was like on a Kang hunting spree.
Mhm.
And so like this could be what started everything. So she's playing a
could be.
part in it too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's my current theory is that
Yeah.
they're right now in the show, they're directly involved in the creation of the TVA and the creation of Kang,
Mhm.
which would be some good,
See,
time travel
yeah.
tomfoolery,
Yeah.
if you will.
If you consider the fact that the TVA is a timeless entity and everything within it stays timeless, then it would mean that Timely could very well be the same one that we saw, same Kang we saw in the end of season one. That this variant is the only one we're really truly following in the Loki series.
Yeah, that
Makes
could be the
sense.
case.
Because he's
Well,
also
that, well, that's
he got the stuttering as well.
well, that's the whole nature of a
right.
variant, that he is that one and
Yeah.
all the rest of them.
Right.
They all just, the only difference is that they branched out somewhere
And I
else.
think that's going to be next week's. I'm guessing that's what's got next week's.
So, like, to
story's
be able to
gonna be.
explain how all Kangs branch from this Kang would be pretty interesting. He,
Yeah.
like what you said, he'll like somehow enter the loom or branch out,
Maybe,
and then that's
maybe.
why you get like you look at all the Kangs at the end of Quantum Mania in the,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
all like the
Wherever they
collection
are.
of Kangs or whatever they call that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like those all
A
have to
Kang
be
of Kangs.
variants.
Yeah.
Yeah, those all have to be variants of a single Kang,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Is that how the variants work? Because we also got a girl Loki, but is that just a variant of like a Loki in a different timeline? Because it's not necessarily Tom Hiddleston's Loki.
Right.
Like this, it's two different ways how the variants work, right? And a lot of people are also saying Renslayer is a Kang variant herself.
That's what it's.
also,
Okay. Well. Okay. We're going into a bit of spoiler territory here, but the very last words Miss Minutes says at the end of the episode to Renslayer was, "I've got a secret about you that you're probably not going to like," or something in those terms, and it feels like it's going that direction. That she might be a version of Kang.
she's Kang's.
Well, she'll be the female version of Kang.
yeah.
she's
she's
Kang's.
a
Selvi.
Yeah, that's what
like-
it could be. That seems like the most logical. But again, this show continues to, make things, question things about each episode as we
It's
go.
the last season of this show.
We don't know. They haven't officially or unofficially announced a season 3, but I guess it depends on how well the show goes. And
Yeah, I
right
mean, like,
now,
if-
ratings what I'm hearing are just average still because of of the disappointment from Secret Invasion, people are not coming back to Marvel as much. Even the Marvel's movie right now is I think
Yeah, a
over
lot of people are pretty
50
pessimistic
yeah,
about it. Right?
50% down from pre-sales and what Miss Marvel sorry than what Captain Marvel was a few years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying it's gonna flop, but have they
I hope
seen
not.
it? Has
No,
anyone seen it?
no,
No, right?
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dangle the Quantum Carrot, absolutely. Yeah,
but see, like this
but
is my
it's gonna be better.
issue.
Quantum Mania was not good either. Though.
Well, this is my issue of like
Mm,
if they're waiting to like you know okay another season of this,
mm,
they have to have the end of this season open ended or
sure. Well, I
like
mean, I think
they can't just
anything's
like
gonna.
write a complete story. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
Unless it leads
sometimes that
directly into a movie or sets it up directly in
yeah,
going into a
yeah,
movie.
the Marvels will restore faith.
yeah.
Hopefully.
I hope. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to it personally, and I think it's only because of the enthusiasm of the actress who plays Miss Marvel, because she just has that enthusiasm on camera and off camera, and I love that character. I love that the actress. I think she's adorable. But yeah. That aside, we'll see. I mean, it's hard to tell. Every showrunner or every movie director is going to have and put their own style into something. So I don't know how that's going to play off from
Yeah.
something we've been watching from Loki's show running.
I mean,
Which has
that's like
been
every
exemplary.
Marvel movie, right?
Yeah, but the
I
thing
think
is,
I'm the only one who likes Quantum Mania out of everyone I've talked to.
I mean, it's not like the worst of the Marvel films, but
It's not even the worst of the
it was
Ant-Man films.
yeah,
But
it was
Ant-Man
empty. I
and
felt
Wasp
empty.
came out and no one said anything about, people weren't really complaining anything about it.
Yeah,
But it's better than that.
yeah.
I think we've just set the standard too high for Marvel movies. Like
Um,
even like
yeah.
Iron Man didn't make $1 billion either. On
Sure.
paper, Iron Man would have been a failure compared to what we consider
Hmm.
as like good movies in Marvel these days. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and that goes back to the showrunners or the film directors, and when you get a
Yeah,
couple of
Anchorman, it was
directors
decent.
or
I liked it.
who manage to just nail it, then yeah, there's that. There is a clean build up of anticipation. And the thing is that I don't know what to anticipate from Loki season 2 into the Kang, series that we're going to be getting later on, or the movies, or whatever, however
Well,
that
see,
goes from
this
there.
is exactly it, and that is the problem for like, the way that we're viewing Marvel, and it's kind of like detrimental
Hey, Anchorman.
to the movies
Yeah,
itself. Is that like
yeah,
our anticipation now that like they've groomed us to expect
sure,
everything to be connected together, and if we
right,
can't find a connection, we're going to be
yeah,
like, nah, that was horrible, like I don't like this. They need
yeah,
to be connected like that, because like
yeah,
at first in phase 1
right,
the connection was a bonus. It
yeah,
wasn't a requirement to any of that. They all just like, oh, check this out, there's some connective tissue here. It's like, oh cool, this is something new.
right,
Like
yeah.
we're being introduced to something that connects the other movie.
I
But
feel like
outside of that, like now
yeah,
within like, I don't know,
yeah,
3 phases deep,
yeah.
we're like, I didn't like that connection. Like you
Right.
connect it
But
better.
is it because we're taking so long to get to that connection, or because we may not see the connection from one show
No, but
or
we
movie
got to
into
just
the future
not worry
for
about too much
two
about
years or
we're
3 years?
not
Yeah.
worried about the
Right.
connection. The
Okay.
connection shouldn't be what we gauge
Sure.
the
Yeah.
property on,
Yeah.
but it tends to be a thing that we always nitpick at. Like, all right,
Right. Right.
like that was good,
Hmm.
but how did it connect to
Okay.
everything?
So
And
so
as being like kind of like a something to check off the
yeah.
list, but like
So so it
it
does break
shouldn't
down to
necessarily have to depend on that. You know
right,
what I
but
mean?
then it breaks down to the individual movie or show,
As
and
they
that
always
becomes
should. They all
yeah,
need to
right.
stand alone on
Correct,
their
yeah.
own.
So then that
And
goes back to the showrunners. You've just made a good show or a bad show, or the directors, you've just made a good movie or a bad movie. And that's the kind of thing that should be looked at in the future. If a showrunner or a director is going off on a bad direction with something, bring somebody new in, and they managed to do that with Thor, because Thor was kind of a little all over the place at the beginning, and once Taika Waititi came in, people said we like that direction, go with that direction.
So
Sure,
they
it didn't.
ran with it a little
They
too
ran with it a
far.
little too much, yeah. But if Taika Waititi does do Thor 5, yeah, I think he's
going
attached
to,
to
is
Thor
he?
5. I have no idea, but if he does, then hopefully he'll tone it back again to what he did in Ragnarok, because Ragnarok was a very funny, well balanced movie. So
But like, yeah,
yeah,
considering like the connection that certain things had, like Captain Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter
right,
Soldier, and WandaVision was
right,
totally integrated into what the next arc was for Wanda.
right.
Like those all were, pretty connected, but still stood alone.
Hmm.
We weren't complaining about like, how is this connected back
Right.
then.
Yeah.
It's just we've had like a few shows now, and I think Miss Marvel did a really like directly connected to the Marvels coming up.
Sure. Yeah. I bet. I mean, again, that post that end scene was a scene from the
Yeah.
Marvels movie, though. So we
But then like
saw.
Hawkeye was
Yeah.
directly connected because it was
Yeah.
Hawkeye. So they did reference everything that happened
Sure.
before. They even had clips from the original Avengers in
Yes.
that.
But
I
that
almost
was.
forget about Hawkeye. That's crazy.
See,
With all these shows, that's like a
am I
lot.
the one that actually
But that
enjoyed?
was
I
good.
enjoyed
No,
Hawkeye all
I
the way
really
through. A lot of
liked it.
people didn't like how it ended. I was fine with it. I thought it was.
No, that was
I
awesome.
thought it was solid enough, and
That was a solid
actually,
show. I
it
think
might be the only show I've gone back and rewatched. I think I rewatched it at Christmas
Mhm.
like last year, and I was like, yeah, this works as a
Well,
6-hour movie.
looking back at Marvel's shows,
Yeah,
it's not a bad run.
sure.
Like
Yeah,
WandaVision, I thought was solid.
yeah,
Falcon Winter Soldier, I really loved.
yeah, me too.
What came after that? Was that Hawkeye that
I
came next after that?
No, we're missing some. Oh, well, What If was in there as well, which
What
is
If?
its
Oh,
own
which
separate thing.
was awesome too. We
Yeah,
loved.
yeah.
Um, there was a Moon Knight, which people were
See,
all right okay
Moon
with.
Knight for me is where it started to go down a little bit,
Yeah. But
but
still, like think of the percentage of shows that actually hit.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
actually it's when I think about it, I think they're doing a better run than the Star Wars shows for me personally. Like what Star Wars has like 3 out of how many shows total that
Mandalorian
really
5, I
liked
think,
for
is
me.
Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Ahsoka, and Andor.
Yeah.
So
And like out of like the 3 Mandalorian seasons, there's like 3 seasons of that.
sure, yeah,
Like 2 of them were bangers, and like Andor for me. So it was like 3
right,
out of like however many seasons that was.
fair
And
enough.
Star Wars, I mean Marvel, I don't know. Moon Knight was kind of like I enjoyed it, but I'm like
Right,
it's very forgettable.
yeah.
Um Secret Invasion is a sin to mankind.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
The first episode was very solid for me. I
But
thought
every other show
I thought that
Yeah,
great.
yeah, one episode.
Yeah,
that's 2 shows out
yeah,
of a pretty
sure,
big gamut of shows that
mhm,
were kind of unsuccessful, and
yeah,
it's not that it's that's not actually a pretty
yeah,
good run considering how many have come out
yeah.
and how
Yeah,
many
he
were
snapped.
like swings and a miss.
But two things about Marvel: Endgame level, Fantastic Four. We'll see about that, because that's been kind of all over the place too.
Yeah, Falcon
And
and Winter Soldier is hella
yeah,
underrated. I
and
agree.
yeah, and I'm also curious to see what they do with the next uh, not Falcon, but the next Captain America 4
Mm.
with Falcon's character, because I'm curious to see how they transform that character and give it new
Mhm.
life.
Well, now, thanks to Secret Invasion, Marvel stuck with a somehow Palpatine came back situation
Yeah,
where now they have to deal with
yeah,
her.
yeah.
They have to deal with Gaia in this universe,
Hmm.
someone who's overpowered, has
Right,
everyone's superpower at
sure.
her fingertips, and they're just gonna have to find a way to sweep her under the rug somehow.
Yeah, that
It's not like she could go somewhere else like Captain
no,
Marvel and like just be out of
right,
the picture.
yeah.
They got to deal with her somehow.
Yeah, I feel like they took an underwhelming character, and there's no offense to the actress because I love her work, but they took an undeveloped, underwhelming character and superpowered it up so quickly
Mhm.
that it was not deserved.
It was
And
just a gross
yeah,
misconception of what Marvel thinks the fans want to see.
Yeah.
You know, just an unearned
Yeah.
reference
Right.
to everything that has happened.
Yes. Yeah.
And like just her with Drax's arm says everything about
Yeah.
what's wrong
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
with that whole sequence and how the show ended.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just having to recover from that and
Yeah.
like seeing a mess. Oh, forgot about She-Hulk, which I was
oh,
okay
She-Hulk.
with,
Oh, She-Hulk. Yes. You know what?
which I enjoyed.
I started off not liking it because the humor element was not my kind of humor, but then I actually did a pivot and actually did enjoy it by the end. So, but then
Yeah,
you've also got
and
the
crazy enough that show was the most comic accurate.
sure, yeah, you're right, and then from that we've got this complete change now for they've scrapped everything that Daredevil was set up to start doing and had already shot, and they're revamping it from the beginning. So
I think a Secret Invasion is a wake up call for
yeah,
like
oh yeah,
how they're
totally.
like kind of crumbling apart and need to get their shit together.
Yeah, Brie Larson. I can understand that. At the same time, I don't
She's
know.
had no patience for them from the
She
beginning,
she
bro.
seems no. I don't think so either. Yeah, I feel like I don't know if
But
she's a wrong casting for that character to handle the kind of
Yeah, like
think-
you gotta
well,
enjoy being a superhero
I
in
liked
people's
her.
eyes.
I liked her as the character, but then as an actress who doesn't like that kind of response to the genre.
she could have done a little better on the press tours and stuff. I think a lot of people just
Yeah.
were already iffy about her.
Sure. Yeah.
And with just a few interviews of her kind of like just what she says about certain things, they're just rubbing them the wrong way, and they're kind of waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
And so now,
Yeah. Of course.
yeah, it's just gonna snowball hate
Yeah.
on Brie
Yeah.
Larson. Like
I'm-
she's all right, she's a great actress,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think it's people's opinion on her are just a result of like a combination of certain things, like
Yeah.
just how she is on press tours and like the toxic fandom
Yeah.
that Marvel has. So
Well, the Marvels is out in 3 weeks' time.
yeah, can't really blame her.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson doesn't know what the hell's going on most of the time, but I think we just like Samuel L. Jackson. you
Yeah,
know?
but even his performance, I felt, was not really truly just. I didn't know. I didn't
That's
know
not
what
on
the
him,
character.
though.
No,
Like-
no, it wasn't. No, I didn't know I didn't know what the character was trying to progress in Secret
Yeah.
Invasion. It just didn't. It didn't feel like the character's writing for that character is what we've seen in the past that worked for Samuel L. Jackson's portrayal of that character.
Exactly. And I could say the same for Ahsoka too, Like there was kind of like lack of like motivations for like I don't know what they're trying to do. And like he was motivated like
Look at him starting on Ahsoka. He's already like
I think he already
twitching.
had a lot of like I think that his motivations were pretty clear. It's just
Right, but
I don't know what like the scrolls motivations were or anything like that. I think that's where the issue was. And like it was they're supposed to carry a lot of weight, but they didn't.
Yeah, I don't care for the Skrulls as a character in the MCU. They didn't do anything for me even in Captain Marvel. I just simply was like, they exist and they're there and they've been there for a while, but there's nothing to make me believe the real threat of what they are or what they were or or their transformation from that threat.
There was potential, but I think they were just banking on like how can we make Super Scroll, like hitting certain beats in the lore. I think kind of distracted them from actually developing any type of story that was happening with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lynn Ramsey, who's that? I don't know what she directed. Timothy Chalamet as Spider-Man. No. I like him as an actor, but I couldn't see him as a Spider-Man. That's me personally, though.
He could be the French Spider-Man.
He'd be the French. Yeah, he looks a little French, doesn't he?
I mean, he is French. I'm just saying, like, if
really?
he was like
Okay.
the French Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I guess Chalamet with the last name Chalamet, it would be French. Yes, fair enough.
Well, because
Yeah.
of Spider-Verse, there could be multiple.
Spider-Verse, I'm
Spider-Man.
saying.
sure.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
yeah.
In a
Okay,
in
fair
French,
enough.
he's
Fair
he's
enough.
Spider-Man.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
Is there a French?
Um,
Oh man, that'd be funny.
I don't know. There might be. Mag's not here to tell us if there is. I'm
yeah,
sure there is.
Max
There's
would
got to
know.
be a,
Yeah,
there's
Max
a
is working today.
Spider-Man. There's a Spider-Man
So
for
he's
them
not
all.
around, guys. Yeah. Anything else on Loki? Since we kind of diverged off from there quite a bit, but
Yeah.
end of the day, I'm excited to see where these last 3 episodes of Loki go. We'll be doing another reaction next week, of course, to it, and yeah. So we're gonna do a kind of coming up on Halloween in a week and a half's time kind of thing, and we figured that we'll do our we did this last year, our kind of top horror films
zombie ones,
and for the most part, some of our stuff from last year hasn't changed much from this year, but there has been some new horror films that some of us have watched during the last year or two, a couple of years that have.
Did we
had
just do
influence.
horror films last year, or did we just do zombie ones?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, we did
Maybe we just did something. I don't know.
Zombies.
Yeah, zombie horror. Whatever. I mean, we're putting horror in the genre of
Because that was on
psychological
my list.
thriller.
I'm like, how am I gonna write 5 of each? It's like this is impossible. It's like there's other ones I'm like should put on here, but I can't. I've only got 5.
Well, I guess we kind of we
5 classic and 5 current is kind of what we end up with.
Yeah,
right?
kind of something like that. And again, we haven't quite kept fully with horror. We've gone a bit psychological, thriller,
minor thriller,
or horror thriller, or horror comedy and stuff like that. So yeah, okay, let's go through Elijah.
I want to see your list.
Oh, you want to see my list? Okay.
We can start with me. We can start with me. That's fine.
Okay, that's right.
I don't know how you have things set up. On
well,
your side.
I haven't really got them set up in any particular order. I just simply put them in there. Basically, we know what your number one is, Elijah. Your number one is going to be like The Shining, right?
Everybody do people know that?
I don't know. Is it your number one?
Yeah, that's my number one. I like that poster that you brought up here. It's like it's funny.
Oh, that one? Yeah.
I got throwback poster, dude.
Yeah, it's old school. I don't know where you found that one. But,
that one might be from England. England did the posters that were actually wide format.
Yeah, that's more like a lobby card,
British,
but that's like a one
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, the British posters usually are a wider one. The Star Wars ones are incredible. The English printed posters
I'm sure.
are so sweet.
Sure.
But yeah.
Oh, were these in an order?
No,
I didn't put mine
order.
in.
Oh no,
I didn't put my
no,
list
no
in
particular order.
Yeah, it's like I can't,
I think I did more than 5 on each.
Yeah, no, I know. This one I'm going to pull up next because honestly, I think all 4 of us, because even though Max is not here, we'll go through that. Alien is probably still at this point like the number one like horror film to all of us. We thoroughly enjoyed it as purely psychological horror.
It's just
design
good.
horror.
You're being hunted and you can't leave. You're trapped in space.
It's a masterclass in horror.
Perfect.
Totally,
monster horror.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
And it had at least one spin-off that actually worked really well in Aliens. And
at least one.
At least one.
I still like Alien more than Aliens. But...
See, I prefer Aliens over Alien.
Yeah, we talked about
Aliens. Is just more flashy. Alien really makes you like you really sit there and watch it.
It's got more pyrotechnics in it.
Yeah. See, even when Ridley Scott did Prometheus, I was not a huge fan of Prometheus as much as I was Alien, and it was a different story and a different time that he shot it.
I love Prometheus just for like the production design alone.
Sure,
it's solid. That and even Covenant, I enjoyed a lot of those new ones. It just like after Aliens, it kind of veered off on like a direction that I did not think was loyal to the first movie.
Oh, totally.
And that's what I love about Prometheus is that it honored the first movie. A lot and kind of stayed in that tone. And that's the tone I really loved and connected with Alien. But like the other ones, it turned into an action movie after Aliens. That branch just turned into like Die Hard with aliens. We're good. They're good in their own way. But like as far as like the thesis of what Alien was trying to make, they missed the mark on that.
Sure. No, I agree.
And it did well in the box office. It was a success. They were able to do toys thanks to like Aliens. You weren't really seeing toys until that sequel, right?
Yeah.
No, they had toys for the first Alien.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like how they had toys for Batman Returns.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy toys. They were harder to get when you were like back in the day, but they had.
Yeah.
But then the next one along the way, Poltergeist is one of the films you picked in the original list there. So
yeah, I mean, I want to put that one off, but it's just classic. That one was like some of these are just the ones I watched the most. That's like classic. That scared me as a kid.
Yep.
Just because there's so many similarities.
That clown. The puppet clown.
The clown in their room. I mean, their room, they're playing with Star Wars figures, and they've got like Muppets in there, and it's like everything's like, none of it's like fake.
It's fairly grounded. Like,
grounded.
The thing that haunted me about Poltergeist was like how common things were, and like they took elements from everyday life.
Yes.
To kind of haunt us. Like TV static was scary to me after watching that movie, and that was just constantly a thing. It's not. Really, it's hard to find right now.
That's on Max's list. Yeah, I should have that on my list too. It is a solid film. And then
like TV,
Anchorman's got a few ones there, but yeah. Sorry. Yep.
No, the TV static isn't really a thing right now, but it was something that we all dealt with. And like, if you leave the TV on too long, it'll eventually get to static. But to take that an everyday thing like a toaster. And then make it scary is like one of the most haunting things about Poltergeist.
Right.
Totally. If like we're constantly surrounded by windows to another realm.
Right.
That could like take us away.
Yeah. One of the other ones there, Elijah. American Werewolf in London. It's a solid film. Yeah.
It's classic. It's scary. It's funny. It's got everything. It's
still some of the best makeup effects ever done by a human.
A masterclass in werewolf transformation.
So perfect.
I think it set the standard for turning into a werewolf. It's always referenced nowadays if you're gonna do a werewolf movie.
The Nun 2, huh? Yeah.
I heard those are good.
What else on American Werewolf in London?
It's just funny. The British culture they put in there, like just all those. I don't know. It works really well.
It's two Americans in London, so yeah.
The dream sequences that he has as he's turning into a dog, and then he has a nightmare with the terror dogs, Nazi terror dogs coming in and terrorizing him, and the slow deterioration of his friend. All that stuff is great. It's just kind of the perfect horror comedy, scary and believable all at the same time.
Yeah. Another one you had in there, you had Cape Fear.
Cape Fear. This is like, I kind of added this one, like, Cape Fear is like another one that I used to watch. I think because I used to watch this a lot. Okay. And it is super creepy. Like, have you watched it? Are you familiar with it, Brent?
I've seen it, yeah. I didn't remind myself as being necessarily horror, it was psychological thriller, though.
It's horror, but this guy's like, he's going... Yeah. It's this guy that's coming out of prison is basically terrorizing his old lawyer because he gave him a bad, he passed whatever judgment and he went to jail for it or whatever. Yeah. But he's like terrorizing him and his family and his daughter, and there's whole creepy scene with him and
in the middle of a storm, a hurricane,
in a school, the whole end sequences. They leave to go out to the ocean, and he's like following. It's pretty creepy for someone following someone and trying to get someone, trying to like, that's good. It's not. Yeah. It's not like a chase movie, but it's like this guy's like totally creeping on them.
Right.
You always know like when the movie transcends into Simpsons reference territory. That's how you know how well it is and how a temple it is in pop culture.
Yeah,
and like many of those movies that you listed were all like references to Simpsons. Simpsons reference.
Pretty much, I guess everyone I picked, the Simpsons have probably had a referred to it in some way.
I'm not going to do the more recent ones that you've watched right now. We'll just do all the stuff from our early years.
Oh, we're still just going on my list. I see.
Yeah. That was just your list there of sorts. It was. So Jason, let's jump on.
Was there one more? Oh, you missed one more.
Oh, which one was it? Remind me.
Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, Return. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's.
Was there one more in there? Return of the Living Dead and.
Where is that one?
Don't worry about it. Return of the Living Dead. It's one of my favorite zombie movies. It's old school. Like I remember seeing that. Like came out at the same time as Back to the Future, and like one of my clear memories is going to Back to the Future as a kid and having to leave Back to the Future in the middle of it to go to the bathroom, and then wanting to peek into this other theater because it had like the cutout lobby card of like the zombies and everything, like before you walk into the theater, like right in front. And I just wanted to peek in and see what this movie was. And like, I was like a little kid, I was all scared watching it for like, a minute or whatever, and then going back to my other theater. But it's a great 80s zombie horror movie, and it basically started the whole zombies eat brains and that whole thing.
Set a standard.
There's no photo. No photo attached, but
I did have the image, but it didn't make it into for some reason it didn't make it. Sometimes I'll pull images in and then they just don't upload for some reason.
You just don't want to talk about that movie.
No. I pulled the image. It's probably. I'm gonna find it.
Scared.
Now I have to find it. It's a really it's a really funny poster.
He's scared of me.
Oh, it's got to be the car man.
Oh, there it is. I found it.
Car man.
For some reason, it didn't.
When you said funny photo.
Oh, well, it didn't make it. There. Wait, found it.
Oh yes. Okay. See, this was the lobby card. Like, imagine the cutout of that, and it was like right in front of the theater. I'm like, I gotta creep in there and see it.
That's funny.
And I think it was during.
How old were you then?
Like 5 or something like
that.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. All right, so let's jump into.
Oh man, Blair Witch fucked me up, dude.
Blair Witch. That's all right. You know what?
Oh, Anchorman just said so.
Oh, okay.
That falls into more recent, anything past 2000, I guess, is recent.
That wasn't 2000. That's still 90s, man.
That was a while ago.
Was it 90s?
Yeah,
that was like 2000.
Late 90s.
Late 90s, yeah.
99.
Yeah. And when I watched that, it was still like opening night. So then the rumor of it being actual found footage was still circulating.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't. They haven't really like confirmed that they're all actors, so there was kind of like that little thing in the back of my head, like, oh god, this is too much, and then having to like bike home after that in the dark. I was
bike home.
I was working at the theaters and at the time because I was there because I wanted to get the Star Wars posters that were from marketing, prequels it is, but I remember sticking my head in and like seeing part of it, and there was this nausea. There was this whole thing about people came out throwing up, and it was like, well, it wasn't because they were throwing up because it was something gross or violent. They were throwing up this camera movement was something they were just not used to. There was just something that people were not used to, so it actually physically nauseated you. And there was a nauseating element to the Blair Witch, at least in the big screen, that people watching it in a dark space with the continual movement of a camera was making people nauseated and wanted to be sick. Jason, we're going to pull up one of your favorites, Event Horizon. You've got that.
I know, Brent, shut up. We know how you feel about that already. I'm just gonna say that I was.
Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up! I know, and you've said that many times.
Yeah, Jason. Like, how did this film affect you when you first saw it?
Putting it on there, I was just like, Brent's gonna say that. It didn't do anything for me. I know, Brent, but it messed me up.
Messed you up.
It's just like,
I
mean, I was
how
young.
old would you have been? Yeah. How old?
I was in middle school, I think, or just early high school, possibly.
Okay,
when that came out, and like just the found footage that they had of like when they see it and like all the bodies splattered up against the wall. When spoilers, guys, I mean it's an old ass movie, but this movie, this spaceship goes into a wormhole, and like the concept of Quake kind of Quake kind of like it does kind of reference that. It's like hell and sci-fi mixed together. But like the whole concept of a wormhole and what's between that is hell is just kind of creepy to me. And like the found footage and of like the crew kind of just like tearing their skin off and stuff like that kind of haunts me. And like the guy just holding his eyeballs like like that shit messed me up, man. Like a lot of these movies I put on there because like either I loved them, like Alien.
Oh no, they had a psychological effect on me.
They lingered and haunted me.
Sure.
And that's what qualified for this list.
Yeah. Even though this is on the slightly older, it's kind of like in between there. But Cabin in the Woods, I love this film.
Oh yeah, so good.
Drew Goddard, who directed it, he worked on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and everything like that, and I just thought it was the most creative way, even though I'd seen most of the elements in there before from Buffy. of doing a horror film. Jason, why is this on your list?
It was a self-referential, the same way Scream was, in which I wish I had Scream on here because that was a game changer to me too.
Fair enough.
But like it's a good take on like postmodern horror films. How like the referencing the existence of horror film as a genre,
right?
Like the way Scream does. How
it was smart.
Yeah, like in Scream, the genre of horror exists. Like a lot of horror movies are kind of outside of that realm of like existing horror movies. This way, no one ever calls zombies because of that. It's like no zombie movies exist inside a zombie movie,
right?
But like Cabin in the Woods doesn't necessarily referencing culture, but to us, it showed us these different genres, and like it gave us explanations on why these are recurring things and recurring themes, and gave like an ultimate like reason for this type of stuff. And I don't know, game changer. Postmodern horror.
You saw the movie, right? Did you see it, Elijah?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I saw it a long time ago, but I did enjoy it. It's just it doesn't like stand out to me.
It has one of the most.
It stood out for me. I bought it straight on DVD when I saw it in the theaters. So.
It has one of the most paused frames in movie history of their board when they're taking bets, and they had like a list of all the different monsters that they could awaken.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I just love the boxes going through with every. Oh
man,
it was just
crazy, and there's so much catharsis in that. How you just like you're introduced to these like a massive menagerie of monsters.
Yeah,
and not only that, but you get to see him go to work. You know, and like the catharsis I got from that was just like, oh
yeah. Total Recall is not really horror. That's more
thriller,
action fun.
Sci-fi thriller, but you know.
But I enjoyed Total Recall.
There's horrific things to it. It could be horror. It could scare you. Like as a kid, like Watto would scare the crap out of me.
There's like body horror happening in it, and like the weird like kinds of stuff that happens. But like I wouldn't see it in I walked into a Blockbuster. It wouldn't be categorized in the horror section. Right. I think that's kind of like what decides things. Like, would it be?
Where would it be in the horror section?
Yeah. And horror, I think technically Alien wouldn't, right? It would be in sci-fi.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sci-fi thriller. Although sometimes those are
if you walk into the store,
but there was no but there was no like thriller sci-fi because it was like a first of its time. But like, it was a pretty like cut and clear categorization back
Alien?
then.
Oh, that's sci-fi.
Jason, another one you had on your list here. I've not seen this film before. The Blob. The 80s.
The 80s version.
Yeah. I saw it when I was too young.
Okay.
And it messed me up. Dude.
This is the Frank Darabont one.
You can see
Frank Darabont.
Was it Frank Darabont? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
There's no filter on what I could watch when I was a child. Right. I was too young for this. I shouldn't have watched it because it messed me up, and then it's just like everyday people just getting eaten.
I saw the descent on TV.
Really good, right?
The one scene I remember.
It actually is scary. Yeah.
Sorry, one thing I remember is a guy reaching into like the sink. There's the sink, and it's coming out of the sink, and then it wraps around his hand. And he's like, and it keeps getting dragged in, and then you hear the bones cracking and cracking, and you see the pipe like goes cuckoosh, and like. The pipe opens up. It's like he's getting pushed through the pipe. I don't know.
That made me scared of my sink, dude.
Like you're
stuff like that. Like
squeeze down the sink, and
we all had like garbage disposals. We all had garbage disposals growing up, like looking in there.
Malloy, I used to have a reoccurring dream that I was underground in these tunnels trying to get through these tunnels, and the exact same look and style of that creature, which was like almost like a bald, weird, skinny, almost. And this is before this film even came out. It was well before Lord of the Rings. Gollum was the only other thing I could think of as being close to this. But I used to have a recurring dream with those things grabbing at me, trying to catch me under the underground. So there was a definite psychological element there. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I heard Descent is like a newer classic.
It definitely is. I would agree with that. Then the other one, Jason, you got in there, 7.
Would that be considered a horror?
I mean, I would
consider it horror.
I mean, it's near horror. I mean, like on my my more recent list that like there's not real horror movies in there, but
well, again, more recent. This is
good.
quite an old film. This is now.
Yeah. I know.
This
I'm
is
saying
all
in my
time.
other list, I put a couple
we're
others.
still in the all time.
But I would consider that a thriller or horror. I mean, it's horrific. This guy's murdering people, and then like
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the sloth, man, that is the biggest jump scare I could remember on screen. Like,
yeah,
the guy just in bed, and like the reveal.
Yeah.
Of him,
I only watched
like,
it on DVD, and it didn't do a lot for me, that film. But
it's bad.
Shut up, Brent.
I just say
he cut the flesh off of him. Oh man, holy crap, that was good. And then David Fincher later on did Fight Club, which is solid career.
Jason picked more than 5. That's fine. Let's go through this. The Mist, again, Frank Darabont. I saw this film myself on the big screen, and I didn't think much of it. And then I got to appreciate it more years later when I rewatched it on television.
There's a black and white version of it out there, and that,
really?
I think a lot of the special effects look better in the black and white version.
Oh, okay.
Was that they showed in the theaters? Wanted to do it in black and white, and the studio's like, no, you have to do it in color.
I don't know. I don't know. I think this was afterwards.
I thought he had made it. He wanted to do it in black and white.
Like, I'm sure. If it ever gets released in black and white, that's probably why.
Suck with throwing Zodiac as well. I haven't seen that film.
Both David Fincher films.
Yeah, Zodiac's good. I like Zodiac. I love the first half of it, and then it kind of like really kind of slows down.
Okay.
Kind of just trails off to an end.
Well, that's like the Zodiac whole hunt for him anyways.
That's true.
It was exciting at first, but then it kind of just peters out.
That's true. I guess I never made that association with the movie, but it's kind of like it's
back to the Mist.
The Mist was it's the best Lovecraftian we've ever gotten on film.
You're right.
I guess I'd have to say. Other attempts at doing Lovecraftian horror, either The Swing and a Miss or just too removed. But I think the thing that makes Lovecraftian work is its relation to people and a relation to your life. And having that contrast of these like out of interdimensional like horrors.
You don't, and also on top of it, the end of it was one of those things I didn't appreciate. Guys. Yeah, well, when I didn't appreciate the end of it when I saw it in the theaters, and it wasn't until again years later I was like, oh wow, you've got to appreciate it, because it is about appreciating what that next minute of your life might change if you do something drastic, and take a course of action that you think is going one direction, and you think you've got no other choice, but you always have a choice, and there always is a choice. There always is a possible out to a situation, and if you don't know what's around the next corner, then
they fought so hard and it felt so hopeless. And then he just waited a minute. It's like it haunts. His screams are haunting. Like God, that part messes me up.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree. And then another one you put in there is Sleepaway Camp. I don't know this one.
Oh God, it's so like I used to go to summer camp too, and it kind of like. It's one of those things, like another thing where it hits close to home. That's like the whole horror genre hits best when it has everyday things. Or like stuff that you have in your life, and like
something.
I don't know. I was too young when I watched this again, and the ending.
It's a typical slasher film, I take it, right? Just good old fashioned slasher film. Yeah,
it's slasher, but then like the reveal at the end is just this whole other thing, and you're just like, what the hell? Like, it's really dark, man. Like. These kids get hacked to death with an axe.
Great twist
like
at
children.
I worked at summer camp. Yeah, what can I say? I'm sure it would have worked. It should have went down well if I watched it at summer camp. I've never seen it though, but that's funny.
Yeah, and it haunted me. That's one of the reasons I put it on there. There's a lot missing from this list.
Oh sure, no. I'm gonna go through the last one of your old school ones. American Psycho, a classic.
Oh no, Max put that on his list.
Oh,
that's not me.
Because I thought that was you. Oh,
if you were asking me.
Oh, okay.
That movie I consider a comedy.
Okay, all right. Comedy, not horror. Yeah.
Fair enough. Because it is. It's a funny ass movie. Like I laughed mostly through it.
I'm going to go through some of my classics, and then we'll jump into our more recent ones. So,
What is the Gorilla Club?
The Gorilla Club?
Gorilla Club?
Anchorman's asking.
What's that?
Anchorman's asking.
I don't know. Yeah, Gorilla Club. I haven't heard of it.
I would join the. Oh,
yeah.
Is it?
I'm
trying to see this.
The one that sticks in my head that I watched and I at least liked what the whole concept was about, and that was Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, that still is a classic.
I'm glad that's on your list.
You know what? It's like I have to like every once in a while I'll think back on some of these films and go, you know what? I'm not a huge horror fan, but
the original first one is great.
The original first one is that and number 3 were good. Then I think they were the only 2 that I actually enjoyed.
That's the one with Johnny Depp, right?
Like, yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Johnny Depp's in the first one. Yeah.
Don't go to sleep.
Yeah. I think what a great concept for a villain that it will kill you in your dreams, in your nightmares, in your sleep, and I thought it was kind of a cool thing. And it was, it's
good premise too.
Yeah, it's a good premise.
Able to run with it for years.
Yeah. The one that I was never arachnophobic, but arachnophobia, even though it's like in a very bright and colorful town, has got some very deep psychological underlining jump scares and stuff like that. If you haven't seen it, it's about a small little sleepy town.
I always thought that was a comedy. I never took that seriously.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's funny. But that's some great jump scares, though. It had some great jump scares.
John Goodman. Dude, I think of that movie.
Rewatch it. It's actually
I've
pretty...
watched it. Yeah. I watched it as many times as I watched Tremors, dude. Like, it was a...
Tremors
like
is such a great... Why isn't Tremors on my list? That's a great comedy.
I know, right? Oh, it's a comedy.
That's more of a comedy.
I think about arachnophobia a lot. Yeah. I think like that's a recurring like.
It's
especially if you're arachnophobic, dude.
See, I'm not arachnophobic, but you go. I sometimes will pull it out. I've got it on Blu-ray. I'll sit down and I'll just rewatch it because of.
Brent grew up in Australia, so
yeah.
Spiders everywhere.
Yeah.
But that movie I think about a lot. Like,
yeah,
it's such a good movie.
Yeah.
But that's more of a comedy to me than it's horror.
I was in my early 20s when this next one came out, which was Child's Play. The original Child's Play is the only one that was worth any good, such. I just thought, again, I think it was more about, I look back at my, at those films, I think they made some fun, silly horror films like that, but they stuck with time. They've stuck around, Freddy and Chucky and all that sort of stuff is stuck around in that genre. And
they became they're iconic.
They're iconic, but the originals are still the best.
They basically became Alf.
Yeah.
Well, that's Well, that's the reason why they if it was a flop, like we wouldn't be talking about Chucky or Freddy. No,
totally. Yeah.
Because there's like other movies out there with iconic villains, but they didn't were nearly as successful as those.
Yeah. One of the other ones that I would consider definitely a dark comedy, but it was some horror elements to it, was Death Becomes Her.
Yeah, I wanted to put that on my list because I love this movie. I mean, I really love this movie a lot.
Special effects still hold up too.
Yeah, music, the score is great. It's
one of my favorite.
Dark comedies?
No, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis
is one of my favorite performances from him. He's great. He's like all the different ages he plays and just his frantic, his frantic alcoholic shit, just great.
Yeah, no, it's again, it's like it's one of those. I would consider it kind of like the Halloween movie I'd watch the most.
Oh, for sure.
Throw in there because I do enjoy that as well.
That's when I first started paying attention to Meryl Streep.
Yeah. Well, Goldie Hawn was always around, but the Goldie Hawn's awesome in this as well. The makeup they did on her at the beginning was great. She was like built really heavily at one point, and then they took it back off, and then they did. It was
and the play between the two girls, the catty fighting between the two girls, it's just like they're always jealous of each other, no matter what happens. Even towards the end, and they're like dying at the very end, and they're like fighting over like.
So it was Death Becomes Her was upsetting as a kid. Yeah. But if you haven't watched it, it's worth checking out. It's a fun, silly one.
Every time I pass by the cake frosting in a grocery store, I think of that movie.
I'll have a cabinet full of frostings.
And this last one, this last one
low.
that I pulled from my way back. I was 16 when this film came out, and it had a massive effect on me, both in a theatrical sense and in a Muppet and puppetry sense. And that was Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
Little Shop of Horrors was directed by Frank Oz, who played Miss Piggy, did the voice of Miss Piggy in the Muppets, and it had Rick Moranis and Steve Martin, and
so you're talking about the director's cut, right?
The director's cut. Well, yeah. Well, either way, yeah. The director's cut is way better.
Oh my god, so good.
But the actual concept of the man-eating plant was done in the 60s, I want to say it was, and it was the Little Shop of Horrors was originally done as a drama with
Jack Nicholson.
Jack.
Roger. It was a Roger Corman
Roger
movie.
Corman. Yeah.
Jack Nicholson was the guy who wants to come in with no Novocaine and just the weird.
Yeah, he was
likes
Steve Martin
the pain.
character.
Yeah,
I like the pain on going to the dentist.
But I just fell in love with the actual idea
with Aubrey?
of how or the Aubrey 2 the plant itself, the Aubrey 2 was an amazing design horror plant.
Puppetry,
puppetry.
They had to speed up the film to get the lips to.
We never knew that till years later.
Yeah, I was like, I've always wondered how the hell they got the plant's lips to
when they had
so naturally.
Yeah, mid-sized plant. They slowed down Rick Moranis moving slowly.
Yeah, he had to act and
the other part was doing
slowly.
it as good and as clear as they could. But then when they sped it up, this thing's going, and in your face. It was so good.
Cinematic puppetry peaked in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was in the horror genre. I mean, it is a. It's a classic horror. Of course, it was a Broadway. Went to Broadway, and I think it was Broadway first. I can't remember if Broadway came after the film or before. I think it was whatever. But either way, it is, and it's solid. Yeah, you're right. It's a solid musical. Anchorman.
Definitely. Young Frankenstein. I feel like that should be on this list. Of comedies.
Yeah,
I wanted to put that on there.
Yeah,
I was thinking more scary ones.
Yeah, I mean, there is so many, and I guess we've got the chance of doing that next year. Our brains will think in a different position, and we'll end up by pulling a whole bunch.
I mean, next week we could do comedy horror. We'll have one more.
Yeah,
I mean,
good point.
maybe make another list and just
Brent's list would be the same.
Maybe
without re-going over what we've already talked about. I mean, we can make a whole other list.
So Elijah, let's go on the more recent ones that have been. We'll play this through pretty quickly, but some of the more recent movies in the horror bracket, you had picked The Witch.
Yeah, David Eggers.
I haven't seen it.
It's slow. It's drab. It's bleak.
I wouldn't like it.
It's just a family out in the middle of woods, and it takes a while to build, but it was nice. I mean, I'm pretty hard to please with horror movies nowadays, or creepy films or whatever. And I saw that, and I really liked it. It was involving and everything. So
Midsommar. I don't know.
That's another one who's just like, this is more of like, get me out of here, like nerve.
That's on my list too.
Like, you just feel uncomfortable watching it. That's what it's what it's kind of made to do. You're supposed to feel uncomfortable watching it, but like
if it gives you like an irrational fear of Scandinavians, that means they did a good job.
Right.
How are you gonna able to do that?
Yeah, it's just it's hard to watch, and that's what's good about it. It's like not necessarily the best story or whatever, but it was like almost like it was hard to get through.
Well done, dude.
Right.
Well, it was well done because it's really playing on your emotions or whatever.
Had that Holy Mountain aesthetic.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I need to watch more A24 stuff.
Scary.
Yeah,
they're kind of slow, Brent. I don't think you'd like it.
Okay,
I mean, those are like definitely better to watch in a theater than at home.
They're just like a slower pace, but it works.
Yeah, and it's like you got to watch it in the. I watched that in the theater. If I can imagine it being different if I saw it at home. They're kind of like they get distracted easily.
One of the more recent. I enjoyed Doctor Sleep. I actually liked it myself.
I mean, I didn't get to talk too much about Shining when we first went through, because I didn't know exactly what you do on your list. But Shining's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I did watch Doctor Sleep when it first came out, and I've just watched it more.
We saw it together, right? I think we did. We go to the movies?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we
saw it around the same time.
I went maybe the same day or something like that, but I saw it separate.
McGregor.
But since then, I mean, it's okay. The story of Elena, it's okay. I really like how it intertwines the book and the Kubrick movie and the characters, and goes back to the Overlook Hotel, and I like it all.
Right.
I just been watching it. I've been watching it more recently because it's on HBO Max, and I've watched it quite a few times. It's a longer movie, but I just enjoy it. It's like not scary. It's not too scary.
Yeah.
But I just like the connection with the original movie, and I just like how it plays out. So I had to put that on my list of newer movies.
Yeah. And then Gone Girl.
Gone Girl. This is not a horror movie. It's more of a thriller movie. But
Roseman Pike's the monster.
But in some ways, it's a horror movie because, to me, it's just like, the worst things you could ever think about a marriage. It's just like from the beginning to the end, it's like these people they're using each other, they're lying to each other. One's, one of them's like trying to frame someone for murder. One's cheating, and one's actually a psychotic person and like murder someone in the movie. It's just like, it's really well done. It's another David Fincher movie, and all David Fincher movies are amazing, but this one really gets under my skin because I'm not that I want, I've never been like a married, like I never had the idea I've never had a desire to get married, but this is like a movie that's just like, oh gosh,
it's the most toxic relationship.
Like not even like, we're not talking divorce. We're not talking about like War of the Roses here. We're talking like, this is like, oh my gosh. It's pretty crazy.
What I gotta say about this film is that no one has ever in the history of filmmaking has utilized Ben Affleck's stupid smirk better than this movie has.
Fair enough.
Like to be able to utilize it in a way that is like, that serves the story so well. Who would ever think? Who would ever think that Ben Affleck's stupid smirk would be used as a pivotal point in a movie and storytelling? Good stuff.
Your more recent ones, Jason. You've got up here Nicolas Cage, Mandy. I haven't.
Yeah, it's the closest thing you'll ever see to experiencing seeing God.
Okay.
In filmability.
All right.
It's really
in filmmaking. Oh, okay. Not as a character. Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
You guys got to check it out.
Okay. It's worth. When was this released?
That was a couple of years ago, right? Like 3 years ago.
Yeah, like 3 years ago.
I missed it, and I haven't watched it, but it's on my list.
It's one of those movies that is like style-wise could be painted on the side of a bus or a side of a van, you know. But like, oh god, it's so good. Another Cage banger. It's like his renaissance, I would say. It's been pretty quiet career, just like these foreign roles, and then all of a sudden he comes back at this.
He was uncaged. He was caged. Now he's
and they utilize Cage really good. Like that. The way that Gone Girl uses Ben Affleck's smirk was able to utilize Nicolas Cage's like. In a really good way, the same way that David Fincher did, and it's one of those like if metal font, the font for metal shirts and stuff like that. If that was a film, this is that movie.
Okay,
like everything about it is just it's good shit. I think everyone should watch it. It's a wild ride. It's like an acid flashback of a film.
Fair enough. Another one that you put in there was The Menu.
On The Menu. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I
remember the trailer. It looked interesting.
These are just like what this list is just like
more recent
stuff I've watched that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And The Menu I really enjoyed because it's kind of like the whole obsession with culinary arts has been kind of like this thing in culture lately, and this takes it to that next level of like making a horror movie with that obsession. and I think it serves really well. There's a lot of like satire in it that references that kind of the culinary world.
Yeah.
Liz is like a huge foodie. She loves that type of stuff, so it was kind of refreshing watching that together.
I liked it, but I wanted a little bit more out of it. It just kind of left me wanting more from it, but I did enjoy it.
I mean, have you ever eaten at like a Michelin star restaurant? That's how I feel at the end of everything too. Kind of wanted more out of that. I don't want to go get a burger after this. You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one, for some reason, I pulled the image and I couldn't bring it up for some reason. But Upgrade was another one that you pulled as well, Jason.
All right. Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
This
Upgrade.
is the Venom movie we should have got. Like
the what? Sorry, movie we should have.
Do yourselves a Venom.
Oh, Venom. Okay.
Like this movie does Venom better than the Venom movie did, but like it's a thriller. It's super cyberpunk. Malloy, have you seen Upgrade? What'd you think about it? I love that movie. It's so good.
Image again.
It's some good like future.
Here we go.
It's good cyberpunk
I hadn't heard of it.
Stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it came out. Yeah, choreography. Oh yeah, choreography was great too. So this guy gets something implanted in him, and it's kind of like it's like an AI to kind of help him be like fight and stuff, and kind of thinks for him, and he's like supposed to helps him like solve like who killed his wife and stuff like that. But then it's I don't know. You guys should check it out if you're gonna watch anything this Halloween season. I wouldn't count it. It's not really a horror. It's more of a thriller.
Right.
I think I put that on there as on the list, but like it's one of my favorite movies that came out that year.
Cool.
It's some solid sci-fi.
Awesome. I think some of your other ones crossed over into Elijah's or Max's.
Not Get Out.
Huh?
Not Get Out. Yeah, Get Out.
Yeah, hang on. Whereas, hang on, I think I put that in Max's list because it was on his.
Oh yeah, that was on his too.
Nope. Hang on. Yeah, well, Max we're going to do next week as well, so we'll get Max's thoughts on his stuff next week for sure. He's got a few other ones there, and wait.
Yeah, I watched. I mean, I watch that every year. I think since it came out.
Yeah, Get Out was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, Get Out's a good movie. Me and Liz watched it. We watched it performed live with the live music.
Oh, cool.
Oh, really? Nice.
Recently, that was like a couple years ago.
Right.
But man, that was cool. They even did all the pop music that like there's like a song on the radio that they even covered that stuff. And they had like singers up on stage singing that song from what's it called? Dirty Dancing. Like even that song they performed live. But yeah, that movie's a banger, dude.
Yeah.
I think it started a whole genre as well.
Yeah.
I feel like.
So, yeah. I've seen probably more horror films in this last year than because I've got another group of friends that I go to the movies with, and some of them are big horror fans. So and that's actually Blake and Jared and a few of the others who we won this award for at the beginning of the show when we're talking about the Horror Fest one, Screamfest. So a couple of films that we actually saw this past year, Renfield. I'm gonna say it was okay. It definitely was.
Why is it on your list, Brent?
Why is it on my list? No. It was okay. It definitely was like an interesting vampire take, which I thought was kind of it was fun. Whatever.
Like the vampire's assistant.
Yeah, the vampire's assistant, but it was it's some pretty gory effects, some really decent effects in it. One of the ones that I found actually pretty amusing, this goes up there with the Chucky kind of stuff. Megan was definitely one of the more recent horror. Yeah. It was horror comedy, but it was good with a really good audience. And I saw it in the theaters with a large audience that anticipated the moments, and when you've got those scenes where they're anticipating, it's going to happen, the doll sitting there and it's gone the next minute and it's moved off somewhere, and it's about to do something sinister, and you're just laughing your ass off because the doll has just disappeared from frame. and stuff like that.
That's the best way to enjoy horror, right?
Oh, absolutely, with a big crowd, completely with that sort of thing.
That and comedies like opening weekends, it's like you got to get that crowd.
Some of like the recent horror movies, they would show footage of crowds reacting to it. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
And I think that is like a huge sell point.
Yeah.
For a lot of horror movies, like, oh, you got to watch this with a bunch of people and scream at the screen and stuff.
Yeah. Now, I put one on the list that is probably my least favorite. I had to put this in there because it was something I saw recently, and that was the last Voyage of the Demeter. The Demeter. It was very well done, but it was
too slow.
Very poorly. Yeah, it was very slow, but it was poorly executed at the same time. They were trying to set this up as a possible spin-off into a greater universal universe of horror films again, and they failed again because they were trying to do this so that they could do a tie-in with the Invisible Man and this and that and all these.
Oh, this was part of the Universal's dark universe.
Yeah. This was actually part of that, but because it failed terribly, it also got abandoned as well. But I mean, Universal may hit that one day, but they definitely didn't hit it with this.
Their monsters aren't working.
Their monsters are not
working. It's so crazy because it's such an old like genre, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like
visually,
the monsters were like the first connected universe, right?
Sure, yeah. And there are things about it that should have worked, but there are things about this film that didn't work. It just didn't hold the attention span of your audience, I think was the biggest problem. And not just because it was a slow-moving film, but it just simply was like... It was direction. It was definitely direction that could have been better on that. The other one I want to do a shout-out to, it's a couple of years old now, but a friend of ours who have worked with him before, David Yaveski's Brightburn.
That's good.
And Dave has been a friend of mine for a long time, but it was a decent little superhero kind of super villain. Well, what if Superman was born evil? And I know they've done it with the Superman comics of if he was Superman was.
But no one's done it in movie.
Russia. No, it wasn't. It was the first time, and I know that James Gunn's brothers wrote the script for this or co-wrote the script. James Gunn produced it, and my friend Dave Yaveski actually directed it. But it was actually kind of a fun little thriller,
All three of us have worked with him before.
Yeah.
One of his first features, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then of course we reworked with him again on the Guardians Inferno. What if Superman turned evil? So if you have the chance, it's worth checking out on the horror list. The last one I'm going to plug right now is something I watched just last night. I've been wanting to see this for a while. They finally released it on Blu-ray, and I said, "Screw it, I'm going to pick it up." Prey.
Before you can't buy it on Blu-ray anymore?
Yeah, before you can't buy it on Blu-ray.
Best
Prey is a Predator movie from the Predator films, and it's probably the best Predator film.
I haven't seen that.
It's the best Predator film since the first Predator film.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
And it was just a solid, good, back-to-basics story of a person versus Predator. And
back to form.
Back to form, where they took a lot of the Predator movies and a lot more sci-fi'd it up and this and that, and this takes it back. I really did enjoy it, and I only just found this out yesterday, but the same director is actually working on a sequel now, Prey No Man's Land, which is taking it to World War One.
Whoa!
Because the first one takes place in 1700 in the 16th
Where?
17th century in America. It's about a native tribe, and you follow the journey. Yeah. And so it was very well portrayed. A very, again, it took it back to basics. The second one would take it into World War One, which could be a very interesting and fascinating time period for a predator to drop down, because they set up the theory, the legend that the predators come to Earth every 7 years to hunt.
Yeah, they established it in like the second Predator movie when he gives him a gun from like the 1800s, right?
Yes. Wow.
But and so generations of Predators. Yes. So it gives them a lot of lore to work with. But I think a lot, and since then they've just been focused on Alien versus Predator.
Yeah. Is Prey good? Yes, I very much enjoyed it.
They're saying Prey is good.
Prey is good. Sorry, yes, yeah. Prey is definitely good. I put it in equivalent with the first Arnold Schwarzenegger one, and even though I enjoyed the Predator 2 a little better, I didn't enjoy Predator films after that
Predator in
point.
the city. Predator.
Yeah, it was
that one I never
liked. The concrete jungle. See, I thought
I never liked that one.
No, I thought
that one didn't stick with me as much as the first one.
No,
not as much as the first one.
I know the first one's still its own.
The first. I'm comparing it to the first one.
Well, I would compare Prey to the first one because it really is a back to basics, back to just your thoughts, your hunting skills, one-on-one with an unknown entity, and it's very well. It's good. It's a really solid film, worth checking out for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, I think we'll probably just we'll call it about that there. Oh wait, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do one last little thing. Let's do a couple of shout outs to a couple of films that we actually all love and we didn't put on our list this time around. That would be Jaws.
Yeah.
The Fly.
Yeah, I wanted to put that on there.
Gremlins. Well,
I'm
Gremlins.
surprised.
Gremlins and Gremlins 2, I should say. Actually, I had the Gremlins there, and it's just, Cujo was a really solid horror, like psychological thriller film.
These are all like huge moments in pop culture.
I was going to say the Lost Boys because it was
I wanted
fun.
to put that on my list,
oh wait, there's the Gremlins. Yeah, Gremlins and Gremlins 2. Yeah. So ultimately,
Gremlins 2 is its own genre.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gremlins 2. But they're just a few of the other ones that are kind of that we all very much enjoy in some form or another.
I want to put Twilight Zone the movie on my list too because I used to watch that all the time. But
that
that's another shout out. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Here I have here's a little bonus.
Yeah.
For Anchorman, I'm trying to share a screen right now, Brent, for you. The new poster for Age of Grogu.
Oh jeez.
It's.
Oh god. Oh, that's funny. Yes, Asian.
I've just been cooking on my Photoshop for a while.
Anchorman will love that one.
This is for you, Anchorman.
Oh,
he's made this connection before, and I think like we all kind of have.
For those who don't know, that's the character from Book of Boba Fett that appeared.
Which is funny because like when when me and Liz are watching it and his character came on, she's like, "Is that Brent?"
No, really?
Look, bring it up again.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
I do not look like
similarity.
I do not look like
the beard.
They look close enough where like this is canonically Brent in the Star Wars universe. Like that would be
okay.
That's a good reference point of what you would look like outside of being a Jedi.
Anchorman's never gonna let this go now.
Anchorman, that's for you. You gotta Anchorman, you gotta screenshot that for. Oh man, sorry, man. I had to do it.
Yeah, Anchorman's about the rabid Bernard, Saint Bernard. Your dog is a Saint Bernard. It was a very solid horror. Like again, I saw that when
Saint Bernards had their run in cinematic history. You know, Beethoven.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, guys,
they always have the. Is that hot cocoa? They always have
the water pouch, the little
the barrel,
the liquor.
There you go. High praise there from Anchorman, Jason.
I made that for you, Anchorman. That's for you. Poster's a dream come true. Oh man.
Anyway, guys,
I'm glad you love it.
Next week we'll be talking probably about Loki. Whatever news comes up, we'll do Max's little horror list as well since he couldn't join us today.
I've been meaning to tell you, I caught up with Gen V, so we can talk.
You did? Oh, you did? Okay. Oh yeah, Gen.
Man,
I didn't talk about
it.
Yeah. Yes, episode.
We can talk about that on Wednesday.
So we can talk about that.
We can talk about it on Wednesday too if you want.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on Wednesday for sure on Jason's Twitch channel. If you get the chance, we jump on and we talk about AI stuff and other stuff on Jason's Twitch channel on Wednesday nights, and the link is below, of course. Anyway, guys, thank you everybody for joining us who was in chat today, and if you're watching this at a later point in time, you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We podcast every Sunday and just talk about the latest stuff that kind of, we enjoy. So thanks a lot, guys. We shall catch you all later.